Okay, so let's move on to part 2 of episode 2. And I want to talk a little bit about what we've been doing for the last few weeks here in Japan. So we've been, again, I think the last time we did a video, we were still in Morioka getting ready to move down to Miyako. We've been in Miyako now for 3 weeks. And really those 3 weeks have been just trying to get up to speed on what's already been going on. So we're kind of coming into this sort of in the middle. Morioka Bible Baptist Church, who we were working with for the past 5 years, they have been doing ministry in this town ever since the tsunami hit, for 7 years. And so there's been members from the church who have been coming down to do ministry. We've been facilitating teams. And then we have also been working with Catherine Porter, our partner missionary here. She's a missionary from England, and she's working with our church in Morioka, but she's based here in Miyako doing ministry. She's been doing kind of this visitation ministry where she visits people in the temporary housing and shares with them. She also does music ministry. She's been playing harp, and she was the one who suggested that our church proceed with a church plant there here in the city. So we got a chance to kind of come alongside her for the past few weeks and see her ministry and the work that she's been doing and help out with that a little bit. As part of that, we had a team from Singapore that came to work with her, and so we helped host the team from Singapore. And they came down, and they were a music team, so we came and went into the government housing to do songs and arts and crafts. And kind of what's going on is, most of the people who have lost houses in the tsunami, they lived in temporary housing for a while, and then after that, if they weren't able to build their own home, the government built apartments for them to move into. And so we went to a couple of these government apartments where they have meeting halls in the apartment. And we did arts and crafts and songs and games and kind of fun things, and just had this sort of intercultural event. And people would come and we would talk with them and sing with them. And so for most of these people, even though the tsunami was 7 years ago, they're just now moving into their new homes. So this is they're finally into a house that they can call like a home that's going to be their home from here on out. So they're getting to know their neighbors, they're in a new neighborhood, they're getting to know the area. And yeah, there's a lot of community building that has to happen, and a lot of them, they don't know the people that are living around them, so this is a good opportunity for them to kind of mingle and mix and get together. So it's neat to be able to come in and do that. And through that, we're able to build relationships and get to know people a little bit better. One of the things that we did at the end is that Kat was able to invite a few of her friends that she'd met through these programs to come to her house, and so we had a couple of ladies came to her house, and and we did kind of the same program on a smaller scale, but just in Kat's house, and that was a little bit more intimate time. It was a time where we could kind of share a little bit more and talk a little bit more freely, and got to hear some of their needs and what was on their heart. Two of the ladies who came had both lost husbands. One of them had lost her husband in the tsunami, and she was still grieving from that. The other one, her husband survived the tsunami, and they lived in their own apartment for the last 6 years or so, for about 6 years after the tsunami, and then they built their own house, and then they moved back into the house, and then just a couple days after they moved in the house, her husband died of natural causes, and so she's now a widow living in this house that they built together. She's living there by herself, and there was a lot of grief, a lot of loneliness. And, throughout the whole week, we met a lot of people like that. Most of the people who came to the events that we did in the government housing were also elderly people. And there's a lot of elderly people here in Miyako that are very lonely. There's not a lot of jobs for young people, so all of their, for most of them, their children and grandchildren are all living far away in the larger cities. And they see them on very rare occasions. And so they're mostly kind of on their own here. And one of my thoughts as we were meeting people and talking was, we really need to have like this elderly outreach ministry. We need a church that can reach out to these people and can meet with them and go to them and care for them. But to have a church outreach ministry, we need to have a church. And so that's that's kind of 2 steps away, because we need to plant a church first, but that's what we're here for. And that's the kind of thing, there's so many needs in this city that a church can meet, and that's our hope, is that through that the gospel will go out and that people will not be lonely anymore, that they'll find a fellowship within the church and with their Christian family, that they'll find a deeper fellowship with the Lord, and in communion with Him, and that loneliness will turn into a source of a time of joy and fellowship and relationship. But yeah, there's a lot of needs and a lot of work that needs to be done going forward. One other thing that we got to do with the Singapore team that was kind of fun is we got to go out and sing Christmas carols. We did that at the station, and that was a neat time as well. So just doing little things like that kind of get us out in front of people and give people a chance to see Christians and to hear Christian songs. I think even though we didn't get a lot of chance to like sit down and share the gospel with people, just those little things of exposing people to the gospel, even on a little basis, something that rarely happens here. And so our hope is that even through things like that people will have more of an awareness of Christianity, and that when they meet with Christians, they'll have something to talk about. Maybe they'll say, oh, a couple of weeks ago we saw these foreigners out at the station singing Christmas songs. What was that about? And it can be something that can lead into a time to talk about the gospel. And our hope is that as we do more things throughout the town, that there will be more of an interest and awareness of Christianity, and that will begin to build more of an openness, because I think that's something that's already been happening through the relief work, and there's more of an openness now than there has been. But as much as we can do to kind of keep that door open and to open it wider, I think will be great.